This is the Module 9 test review. This is the ready to go on page. This is page 255. 9.1 was exponents. It says find the value of each power. That means to solve. It doesn't say find the meaning. I'll review the meaning of them, but then I'll also find the value. So I'm going to use a whiteboard for these. And number 1, 7 to the third power. That means 7 times 7 times 7. And 7 times 7 is 49. And 49 times 7 is 63. And 7 times 4 is 28, plus 6 is 34. The value of 7 to the third power is 343. Number 2 is mental math, 9 to the second power. It's not 18. 9 to the second power means 9 times 9. That's 81. Number 3 is mental math also, but maybe not what you think. If you have 7/9 in parentheses, and you square that, what that means is 7 times 7, that's my numerator, over 9 times 9, that's my denominator. And 7 times 7 is 49. And 9 times 9 is 81. And I want to point out to you something that you'll see on the test about the value of regular numbers whole numbers when we use exponents. The value is greater, but then the value of a fraction gets less. It decreases. It's a little bit tricky. Number 4 is to the 6th power. Let me show you what that means here. 1/2 to the 6th power means I'm going to have a bunch of 1/2s. I'm going to have 6 of them. The numerator is super easy because 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is 6. 1. The denominator is trickier. I've got 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 4 is 16, and 16 times 4 is 64. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6, you get 6. So the answer is 1 over 64. Alright, let's move on. Alright, number 5, 2/3 to the third power means 2/3 times 2/3 times 2/3. And that means 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. Over 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. It's 8/27. Number 6 is 1/3 to the 4th power. That means 1 times 1 is 1, times 1 is 1, times 1 is 1. Over 3 times 3 is 9, and this 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times 9 is 81. It's 1 over 81. 12 to the 0 power, I want to remind you that anything to the 0 power has a value of 1. And 1.4 squared means 1.4 times 1.4. So I would solve this vertically, 1.4 times 1.4. Or you could use a multiplication chart to do 14 times 14. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. And x is 0. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. 6, 9, 1. If you look at a multiplication chart, you'll see that 14 times 14 is 196. And then I count over 1, 2 spaces. 1, 2 spaces. The answer is 1 and 96/100. Alright, let's move on. We're going to go ahead and find the prime factors of each number. Nope, sorry. The directions say prime factorization, but it doesn't say find the prime factors. It says find the factors. There's a lot of factors of these numbers. I'm going to help you with as many as I can. I want to remind you that 1 is the first factor of every number, and itself is the last factor. And when it comes to even numbers, 2 is the second factor, and half of 96 is the second to last factor, so it's 48. And then we just have to go through our facts. Does 3 go into 96? It does. 3 goes into 96 32 times. 3 times 32 is 96. Does 4 go into 96? It does. 4 goes into 96 24 times. You could find that on a multiplication chart. All the rest of these that we're about to do are up here on the multiplication chart. 5 does not go into 96, but 6 does, 16 times. And does 7 go into 96? It does not, but 8 does, 12 times. So I'm going to actually rewrite all the rest of these over here, and I'm going to show you that I got them all. Here's why. 8 times 12 is 96, 6 times 16 is 96, 4 times 24 is 96, 3 times 32 is 96, 2 times 48 is 96, and 1 times 96 is 96. That's how I got them all. I used that rainbow method. Like I just said before, 1 is the first factor of every number. Itself is the last. When we have even numbers, 2 is the second, and half of that number is the second to last. 3 goes into 120, that's pretty easy. 3 goes into 12 4 times, so 3 goes into 120 40 times. 4 goes into 12 3 times, so therefore 4 goes into 120 30 times. 5 goes into 120 24 times. That's on my multiplication chart. 6 goes into 120 20 times, because 6 times 2 is 12. 7 does not go into 120, but 8 does. 8 goes in 15 times. Let me check that. 8 times 15 is 120, so it's 8 times 15. And then I'm missing 2, so I've got 8 and 15, and I'm out of space, but believe it or not, there's another pair that I got to squeeze in. It would be 10 goes into 120, and 12 goes into 120. So there's so many factors there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 factors in 120. And I don't really have room for my error, my rainbow method. I could make it work. It's going to be 10 times 12 is 120. 15 times... it's 8 times 15 is 120, 6 times 20 is 120, 5 times 24, 4 times 30, 3 times 40, 2 times 60, and 1 times 120. Well, it's kind of a mess there, but we got them all. Alright, so now we're on prime factorization. And these are the ones that we want to use either a factor tree or a ladder diagram. And both are super effective. I think I'll start with a ladder diagram on number 11. I don't know what's better. If you like factor trees, you feel free to use that. I'm going to go ahead and use a ladder diagram here. So what you do is you put 58 here, and you do like an upside down division sign. And you have to think of a prime number that goes into 58. And obviously 2 does, because it's an even number. 2 goes into 58. And how many times? Well, I don't know, so I have to go, you figure this out. 2 goes into 5 twice. 2 times 2 is 4. And I get 18. 2 goes into 18 9 times. 9 times 2 is 18. So it's 29. So I'm going to put 29 here. And does 2 go into 29? It doesn't. Does 3? No, 3 doesn't go into 29. In fact, I can't think of any numbers that go into 29. And actually, nothing does go into 29, because 29 is prime. So, because 29 is prime, I put a 29 here, and then I put a 1 here, because 29 goes into itself once. And there's only 2 prime factors. It's 2 and 29. So the prime factorization of 58 is 2 times 29. Now number 12, the number is 212. I'm going to do a ladder diagram again for this one, and then on the next ones I'll do factor tree. So what goes into 212? Obviously 2 does. And this is mental math, because 2 goes into 200 100 times, and 2 goes into 12 6 times, so I get 106. And this is mental math still. 2 goes into 106 53 times. And 53 is a prime number. Nothing goes into 53 other than 1 in itself, so 53 goes here. And so my prime numbers are 2, 2, and 53. And how we write that is 2 squared times 53. Alright, moving on. Got 2 more to do, and on these I'm going to do factor trees. I want to point out to you that just because a number is large, like 2,800, that doesn't mean it's hard to find the factors. For example, I could just do 2. 2 goes into, well, 2 is just going to be The other number that goes with 2 is just going to be half of that, so it's going to be 1,400. And again, this one isn't too hard. It's going to be 2 and 700. And 700 is going to be 7 and 100. And 100 could be, I could either do 10 times 10, which is a good one. But with 10 times 10, neither of those are prime. That's okay though, because watch how easy I can make them prime. 10 is going to be 2 times 5, both of which are prime. And 2 times 5, both of which are prime. So I've got my prime factorization. Now let's just check that I got them all. I got, how many 2's do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4 2's. So that's going to be 2 to the 4th power. And I've got a 5 here and a 5 here, so that's 2 5s, so that means 5 squared. And I've got a 7. We take all our circled numbers. And I'm going to check this one. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, that's 2 to the 4th power, times 5, that's 5 squared, times 7, and when I hit equals I expect it to be 2,800, and it is. Number 14 is 900. There's different ways to do this. I might just do 3 times 300. And I might just do 3 times 100. And I already did 100 over there. It's going to be 10 times 10, which is going to be 5 times 2. And 5 times 2. And so I've got 1, 2 2's, 1, 2 3's, and 1, 2 5's. So that's going to be 2 to the 2nd power, because there's 2 2's, times 3 to the 2nd power, times 5 to the 2nd power. I'm going to check that on a calculator. 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 5 is 900. Perfect. Okay, we're at the end of this video. The next video is going to be the order of operations at the bottom of the page. So go ahead and load the next video and finish page 255.